CBX Business News.
The Business News Headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible. Microcredit oversight, Bahamas' financial upgrades, and China's surprise AI chip delivery. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Thursday, July 24, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, the Consumer Affairs Commission is set to begin consultations on a draft microcredit code of conduct this September. On the regional front, the Bahamas moves to fortify its financial sector with a new segregated accounts bill, companies bill. And over on the global stage, NVIDIA AI chips worth $1 billion have entered China despite U.S. export restrictions. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after our first break.
Let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. For in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes your body's so hard, but your body wants it. And then your head is so home, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. One more now. 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go!
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with consumer protection and financial regulation updates locally. The Consumer Affairs Commission CAC will start consultations this September on a new draft code of conduct designed specifically for microcredit institutions. The code aims to regulate licensees' conduct in consumer-related matters, tackling issues such as predatory lending and unethical practices within the sector. Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the CAC, Dulcie Allen, told JIS News that the Code of
down. No, how you reach that, sir? That was a one-off thing. That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in. What you mean? JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.3 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSB Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Lithium-ion technology, a technology that has become an integral part of our lives. Compact and powerful rechargeable batteries rely on it, as do energy storage systems. The digital revolution, electromobility, and even the transition to green energy would be unthinkable without it. But the technology has its disadvantages. Lithium-ion batteries still rely on rare earth metals and other natural resources. Many of the natural resources are being depleted, and some are even scarce, and the recycling of millions of batteries remains a challenge. Lithium-ion technology has played an especially important role in one.
The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. Microcredit oversight, Bahamas' financial upgrades, and China's surprise AI chip delivery. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Thursday, July 24, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, the Consumer Affairs Commission is set to begin consultations on a draft microcredit code of conduct this September. On the regional front, the Bahamas moves to fortify its financial sector with a new segregated accounts bill, companies bill. And over on the global stage, NVIDIA AI chips worth $1 billion have entered China's despite U.S. export restrictions. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after our first break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading. Better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with consumer protection and financial regulation updates locally. The Consumer Affairs Commission CAC will start consultations this September on a new draft code of conduct designed specifically for microcredit institutions. The code aims to regulate licensees' conduct in consumer-related matters, tackling issues such as predatory lending and unethical practices within the sector. Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the CAC, Dulcie Allen, told JIS News that the Code of Conduct will promote a transparent, ethical, and responsible microcredit sector, one that protects borrowers and strengthens the industry as a whole. She explained that the CAC has been designated under the Microcredit Act as the agency responsible for investigating and resolving complaints from consumers against microcredit institutions. The Act, which came into effect in July 2021, seeks to bring greater structure and accountability to the microcredit sector. Ms. Allen noted that one of the responsibilities they have in handling complaints is to create a code of conduct for microcredit institutions. They have a draft in place and have already received feedback from several stakeholders in the industry, Mrs. Allen informed. She added that the draft code will be published on the CAC website and the Commission will invite feedback from other persons who feel there are areas that may have been overlooked and could impact consumers. It is also important to note that the microcredit sector is regulated by the Bank of Jamaica, which serves as the administrator of the Microcredit Act and is responsible for licensing and supervising microcredit institutions. A new wave of climate entrepreneurs is gaining traction in Jamaica's green economy push, as 15 founders officially joined the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center's CCIC's Scale It Up Accelerator, a program geared at fast-tracking climate-smart ventures and positioning them for investment and expansion. The 8-week accelerator, launched this week in Kingston, is being delivered in partnership with the Scientific Research Council, SRC, and is supported by the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, under its Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem
Biggie program. The participating businesses span clean energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy solutions, and climate-resilient technologies. The launch coincides with a new policy study supported by the UNDP Multi-Country Office in Jamaica and the ILO Caribbean, which advocates for a full transition to a green and climate-resilient economy. The study also proposes a development model built on green industries, green tech, renewable energy, and climate-smart agriculture and tourism, forecasting 8,000 new jobs and a potential 1% GDP growth uplift. Stakeholders say programs like Scale It Up could become a key pipeline for green innovation, entrepreneurship, and inclusive economic growth across the region. Turning now to developments in Jamaica's creative economy. Over 50 Jamaican micro and small enterprises operating in the creative and lifestyle sectors will gather at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on July 27 for the second staging of the Sugar Lifestyle Art and Lifestyle Expo. The one-day event themed Art, Fashion, Food and Lifestyle brings together producers of original Jamaican goods in a bid to strengthen domestic consumption of locally made items and attract higher value purchases from returning residents and overseas buyers visiting during the summer peak. In a recent interview on Let's Talk Stocks, Sugar Lifestyle's CEO Gabriel Burgess says the event targets the intersection of art and commerce, deliberately situating cultural expression within a transactional marketplace.
What we are really doing is showing how creativity with the arts can merge with contemporary living. Yes, and really and truly, we're extending art from beyond the canvas and showing how it can translate into lifestyle products, fashion, apparel, accessories, home accents, and of course, even culinary artistry.
I like culinary artistry. That's
Yes,
something
they're very
that
creative, innovative artisans that love to come on the show, show what's new, show what they're doing, and show what can be created and wow the patrons.
She also highlighted what patrons can look out for at this year's expo.
So this is a new chocolate that blew me away, right? It's pistachio based. So imagine chocolate with a filling. Of course, we're focusing on the artists. The artists we're focusing on the authors for this show because we're embracing our artistic community, trying to reignite the arts and our culture. So the local authors as well, they will be doing readings throughout the day. We start with Marguerite Anderson. She's award-winning and she's very well versed from poetry to storytelling to books for kids.
Lifestyle Expo has also received official endorsement from Jamaica's tourism minister.
Tourism, Honorable Edmund Bartlett is visiting, as well as the Mayor of Kingston.
This is not the first time you're having these big important...
No, the VIPs, no. Well, I guess they liked what they saw before, so they're returning. They were there for Christmas connection.
Yes.
The Mayor of Kingston, even more frequently at our events, he is coming as well, and they'll have a few remarks. And we have a book launch by Stephanie Hazel, very talented young lady.
How are you going to fit all these things into one day, guys?
It's from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have lots of time. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the book launch is from 4 to 6 on the terrace. Okay. Stephanie Hazel is a talented young lady. She's not only an author before people know her as a songstress and a filmmaker.
CEO of Sugar Lifestyle, Gabriel Burgess. Now to trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 103 stocks traded on the JSE Thursday, of which 51 advanced, 31 declined, and 21 traded firm. Leading the winners were Jetcon Corporation, R.A. Williams Distributors, Cygnus Real Estate Financial Jamaican Dollar, and Lasco Financial Services, while the losers were led by Caribbean Assurance, Knutsford Express, Express Catering, and NCB Financial Group. The main index advanced by 478.14 points, or 0.16%, to close at 305,629.61. The junior market index advanced by 5.31, or 0.16%, to close at 3,419.81. And it's time for our market education feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. Now in our market education feature today, we're breaking down the term forward integration. Forward integration is a business strategy where a company moves downstream in the value chain by gaining control over the distribution or sale of its products. Instead of relying on third parties such as wholesalers, retailers, or distributors, the company takes over these functions itself, bringing it closer to the end customer. For example, a farmer who decides to sell produce directly at a local market instead of going through a distribution center is practicing forward integration. Likewise, a fashion brand that opens its own retail stores to sell clothing directly to consumers rather than relying solely on department stores is also using this strategy. The market education feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for our market education feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. The regional business news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back. We go now to news from across the region. The Bahamas is making a bold legislative move to enhance its competitiveness as a global financial service hub with the introduction of the Segregated Accounts Companies SAC Bill 2025. The proposed law is designed to modernize and expand the use of SAC structures, creating more flexible options for investment and risk management, key tools in the offshore financial services market. Speaking during debate in Parliament, Prime Minister Philip Davis revealed that the bill was developed in direct collaboration with stakeholders from the financial services industry.
The Segregated Accounts Companies Bill 2025 modifies and creates a new product approach to the current Segregated Accounts Company. This bill has been crafted with direct input from the financial services industry, creating more flexible options for the use of the what I call the SAC, Segregated Accounts Company, with the intent of attracting further business to the Bahamas.
He says the bill also seeks to attract new business by providing a streamlined, cost-effective way for companies to manage multiple operations and investments within a single legal entity.
The segregated accounts maintain a degree of independence from one another. So assets in one account remain protected from claims against other accounts. This allows for a more convenient, efficient, and cost-effective way to manage risk and meet investment, wealth management, and business needs without establishing separate entities.
Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis. A new trade study by the International Trade Center ITC and Afrexim Bank is projecting a major increase in commerce between Africa and the Caribbean, with inter-regional trade expected to reach $2.1 billion within the next 5 years, up from $729 million today. The growth target hinges on cutting tariffs, improving logistics, and expanding investment in key value-added sectors such as processed food, minerals, manufactured products, transport, and creative industries. Despite historic ties, trade between the two regions remains minimal. Caribbean rum faces tariffs of up to 88% in African markets, and limited air and sea links continue to slow business flows. ITC data shows logistics alone account for 57% of unrealized trade potential. To tackle the gaps, Afrexim Bank is financing a $3 billion facility for the Caribbean Community CARICOM, supporting trade infrastructure and small business competitiveness. Plans are also underway to establish a CARICOM Exim Bank, and a new Caribbean payment and settlement system will soon be linked to Africa's PAPS platform to simplify transactions in local currencies. The push forms part of a broader strategy to formalize a trade corridor and scale up regional value chains. Stakeholders will meet again at the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum in Grenada from July 28 to 30, as work continues to deepen South-to-South trade and investment ties. JetBlue has entered into a multi-airline partnership with U.S. carriers United, Delta, and Avelo, as well as Dominican regional carrier Arajet, aimed at expanding air connectivity between the United States, the Caribbean, and Latin America. The collaboration will increase non-stop flight options and improve route efficiency in response to growing demand for international travel across the hemisphere. According to JetBlue, the alliance is designed to streamline passenger movement, reduce travel times, and provide more direct services to high-traffic destinations. The move comes as airlines seek to capture a larger share of the U.S. Latin America leisure and diaspora travel markets, which continue to show strong post-pandemic recovery. Aviation analysts say the expanded network could lead to increased seat capacity, competitive pricing, and enhanced service reliability, factors likely to benefit both tourism-dependent economies in the Caribbean and Latin America and the U.S. travel industry. JetBlue and its partners will also leverage joint scheduling and code-sharing arrangements to make booking and connections across networks more seamless. Now to trading news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. 20 securities traded on the TTSC Thursday, of which 5 advanced, 5 declined, and 10 traded firm. Leading the winners were Unilever Caribbean, the West Indian Tobacco Company, NCB Financial Group, and Massey Holdings, while the losers were led by National Flour Mills, Trinidad and Tobago NGL, Republic Financial Holdings, and First Citizens Group Financial Holdings. Other results include the All TNT Index declining by 0.12 to close at 1,460.37. The Composite Index advancing by 2.01 to close at 1,007.99. And the Cross-Listed Index also advanced, but by 0.60 to close at 73.36. And still at 96.08 is the SME Index. We take a quick break, but please stay with us. Nielsen Rose is up next with the International Business News segment.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, the European Central Bank kept its rates unchanged during its July meeting, effectively marking the end of its current easing cycle after 8 consecutive cuts that brought borrowing costs to their lowest levels since November 2022. The main refinancing rate remains at 2.15%, while the deposit facility rate holds at 2%. Policymakers struck a wait-and-see stance as they evaluate the impact of lingering trade uncertainty and the potential fallout from proposed U.S. tariffs on economic growth and inflation. Inflation hit the ECB's 2% target in June, adding to the case for a pause in policy adjustments. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to visit the Federal Reserve headquarters in Washington, D.C. on Thursday, marking its first official presidential visit to the central bank in nearly 2 decades. The move escalates his ongoing campaign against Fed Chair Jerome Powell, whom Trump has repeatedly criticized for not cutting interest rates. Trump has expressed frustration over the Fed's decision to maintain its benchmark rate at 4.3% throughout 2025, despite previous cuts. He argues that lower rates are needed to stimulate the economy and reduce federal borrowing costs. Powell, however, has maintained a cautious stance, citing the need to assess the impact of Trump's sweeping tariffs and inflation risks. Adding fuel to the tension is the Fed's costly renovation project, which has ballooned to an estimated $2.5 billion. Trump has called the spending disgraceful and even floated the idea of firing Powell over it, though he later said it's highly unlikely he would take that step. The visit underscores a rare and symbolic challenge to the Fed's independence, a principle traditionally respected by U.S. presidents. The Eurozone's economic landscape in July 2025 presented a blend of cautious optimism and lingering concerns as key sectors showed signs of recovery while underlying challenges persisted. The services sector led the way, with the HCOB Eurozone Services PMI climbing to 51.2, its highest level in 6 months, and surpassing market expectations. This uptick reflects a stronger expansion driven by the fastest output growth since January and a rebound in new businesses, marking the first increase in half a year. Employment also rose, suggesting firms are more confident about future demand. Cost pressures ease slightly, with slower rises in input prices and moderated output inflation. However, despite these gains, business confidence dipped, hinting at ongoing uncertainty about the broader economic outlook. Meanwhile, the manufacturing sector showed tentative signs of stabilization. The manufacturing PMI edged up to 49.8, indicating the slowest pace of contraction since July 2022. Output increased modestly. The job losses slowed to their lowest rate in over a year, yet new orders continued to decline, underscoring persistent demand weaknesses. Pricing trends were mixed. Input costs fell marginally and output prices held steady after 2 months of declines. Like the services sector, business sentiment in the manufacturing also weakened, reflecting cautious expectations for the months ahead. In a major breach of U.S. export controls, NVIDIA's advanced AI chips, valued at over $1 billion, have reportedly entered China through unofficial channels. According to the Financial Times, high-end processors like the B200, banned for sale in China, are now widely available on a thriving black market. Chinese distributors from provinces including Guangdong and Zhejiang allegedly sold these chips to data center suppliers serving domestic AI firms. The shipments occurred in the 3 months following Washington's tightening of the chip export restrictions. NVIDIA has warned that using smuggled chips is both technically and financially inefficient, as the company only supports authorized products. Meanwhile, the U.S. Commerce Department is considering further restrictions, potentially targeting Southeast Asian countries involved in these transactions. This development highlights the intensifying tech rivalry between the US and China and the challenges in enforcing export controls amid soaring global demand for AI hardware. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join you, Neil, for your recap.
Welcome back, and now to recap our top stories. In the local news, CAC to begin consultations on draft code of conduct for microcredit institutions. Regionally, the Bahamas seeks to strengthen financial sector with new segregated accounts companies bill. And on the international scene, NVIDIA AI chips worth $1 billion enter China despite US ban. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Yanil Wood, wishing for you a wonderful evening, and thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.